Neal, we're getting some really, really interesting comments coming in on the channel. Did you see this one? Did you see this one from Gnostic Knowledge? I'm not sure if this is his real name. I think he's posted before under a different name. Did you see that one with all the statistics on it?
Yes, they didn't seem to ring true, some of them.
Right, so somebody on one of our uploads criticized religion in general. And this person shot back this huge cut and paste. And he says, if you mean the exact opposite, you're right on. Atheists always blame Christians for wars. Fail again! 3 exclamation points. In the book Encyclopedia of Wars, written by Charles Phillips and Alex Axelrod, atheists, it was found that 66 wars were started because of Islam, no surprise, and 57 made up the total amount of all other religions combined. That means that out of the 1,763 total wars, 1,640 were not religiously motivated. And then we get a link. What's wrong with not having God in the school system teaching morals to the children? Well, let's look, shall we? Indoctrination and evolution began in 1963 when schools got federal funding replacing creationism. Teen suicides skyrocketed. Violent crimes went up 995%. STDs from the ages 10 to 14 increased 385%. This is because of evolution, Neal. Child abuse went up 2,300%. Illegal drug use up 6,000%. School shootings are always atheists, never Christian. That's told us, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
This is not the end of it. This is just the tip of this particular iceberg. This is a very, very long post.
Should we go through a few of these bits? So
I think we should.
Okay. Atheists always blame Christians for wars. We don't. I mean, a lot of wars are created by religion, we say, but the argument we normally counteract in is that atheists have caused the most deaths in wars. That's the argument that we're normally counteracting.
A lot of Christian activists will say that, or Islamic activists will say that.
He was a Catholic. He wrote a whole book about it. People read it.
Yeah.
So we don't say that. So let's go on to the next one.
Apparently that was found in the Encyclopedia of Wars written by Charles Phillip and Alan Axelrod, and he says in brackets, atheists. How would he know that?
I don't know.
Would it say in the book?
Maybe.
We are atheists and we are writing this Encyclopedia of Wars?
Yeah, I don't know that particular book, so I'm not really
but people who post this kind of post always seem to know who is an atheist and who is not. I found.
Yeah, definitely. I just think the point is we're not saying Christians cause all wars. That's just an absolute nonsense statement.
Yeah.
We're counteracting the fact that they say atheism, the doctrine of atheism, the book of atheism has caused wars upon wars, and it hasn't. Just a lie. Almost no wars have been fought under the name of atheism.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say none. Sorry, I shouldn't have said almost none.
Oh, you realise now we're going to get a barrage of comments under this saying about Stalin and Pol Pot and Chairman Mao and all this sort of.
They didn't fight those wars or kill those people because of atheism or a doctrine of atheism. They did it for their other belief systems.
What do you think of all these statistics, though? That child abuse went up 2,300%, illegal drug use went up 6,000%. This is right after evolution was introduced into schools, apparently.
Apparently, the indoctrination of evolution. I think what you actually mean, Gnostic, is once they started teaching the theory of evolution, about the fact of evolution is correct, and it's amazing that science has found that out, then you have a problem after that. Well, violent crimes went up 995%, STDs went up. Well, maybe STDs did go up. People were getting more promiscuous in the 60s, for sure. You can't deny that. Abuse went up 2,300%. Church
he's posted this big long-ass YouTube link for something we're supposed to watch right after it, so I'm sure that explains it all, because the fact that we haven't heard of any of these statistics till now, and yet there is a YouTube link here, I'm sure we just missed that.
Illegal drugs use went up 6,000%. Well, that's because they made a lot of the drugs illegal. They weren't illegal before, and there was no problem. They introduced laws that made the drugs illegal, so that's frigging nonsense. School shootings are always atheists and never Christians. Holy
Las Vegas comes to mind.
Moly.
Yeah.
That one
is not
just
true at all.
Not true. That is just an outright lie. And this Gnostic knows it's an outright lie. He just has to say this to keep in with his tribe, as always. But teen suicides skyrocket. That may be the case. But all we're doing, we're just getting to a stage in the world where we're actually reporting more things correctly. We were registering things more correctly. And as for
over what time period is this?
Exactly. He doesn't give any
in
reference.
1963 or since 1963 up till today? Or?
He doesn't give any reference. Well, let's look at today's figures for a start. If he's comparing it to today's, violent crimes went up 995%. Well, actually, almost all the people in jail for violent crimes are religious. This is just a fact that anyone can look up. They outweigh the number of atheists by a factor. It's just absolute nonsense to say it was atheism that caused violent crime to rise. Societies have changed. America went gun crazy.
Just a little bit, yeah.
They have a TV system that is basically, and press system that is made to make people be scared of each other the whole time, and scared of the other the whole time. And they're carrying around guns. It's no surprise.
There was 2 shootings yesterday, I think. I mean, I'm not even sure the details yet, but it's just becoming old hat now.
Yeah. So none of this has anything to do with atheism.
But it doesn't matter, really, because apparently, according to another post from someone called Laurie Brown, we are all living in a simulation. And it must be true because most of this post is in all caps.
It's in all caps, and they're telling us it's evident.
I won't read all of this because it goes on and on and on. She says, respectfully, I used to be an atheist activist. Please allow me to share with you some of the reasons that I changed my mind. Now the rest is in all caps. Superior evidence convinced me we are in a test/a simulation. God is real. Now back to normal text. I think you are brave enough to look at this evidence. Please be open to new information. Now back to all caps again. Proven. We are all in a simulation. And there exists no virtual realities without a creator. There is a ton of positive proof of simulation theory, beginning with the power of 369 aka vortex-based mathematics discovered by Nikola Tesla. Oh, that. Yeah. And it turns out Jesus' burial cloth that shrouded her in is real and is a holographic imprint containing 3D info. And lastly, we'll just say, proof of simulation theory, 0-point energy is God and Jesus. Well, that's told us, I guess.
That's told us. There was capital, so she must be right.
Yeah.
Or Laurie might be a guy, I'm not sure. Laurie might be right. Well, respectfully, I used to be an atheist activist. Well, you just pointed out the Turing Trail conspiracy theory. So you weren't a thinking, acting atheist. You say, please be open to new information. Don't be so open, your brain drops out. You have to think about this stuff. Oh my goodness.
A lot of these people who speak to us, they will say, I used to be an atheist, but then I discovered, Krishna or whatever. But they don't mean that. They just mean they weren't as religious.
A lot of them, yeah. But I mean, even if this person was an atheist, they're obviously very, very easily led if they're believing in conspiracy theories. Now, as for the superior evidence for the simulation, there is no superior evidence. We're in a simulation. There are a lot of people guessing maybe we are. Some people saying we aren't. But
I think this person has decided he or she is in a simulation.
Yeah.
And has believed her decision. And that's why she's panicking.
So there's no evidence either way if we're in a simulation or not. Zero evidence. There's probabilities, some say. But there's no evidence either way. But to say that means God is real. That means God made the simulation. It could just be some kid playing on his computer in some other
alien
universe.
Yeah, what Star Trek? Yeah, you'll get some really cool ideas there. But anyway, this is I would like to say this is the most bizarre stuff I've ever got in Talk Beliefs, but it isn't. It's kind of typical.
At least they didn't swear at us this time.
Yeah. Okay, our first article comes from theguardian.com. This Christmas, beware evangelical Christians bearing gifts. All over the country, Operation Christmas Child is up and running again. The scheme urges people to pack up a shoebox with toys, pens, notebooks, and treats for a poor child. Schools often join in because children love doing it. There's something romantic and mysterious about sending a secret collection of gifts to an unknown child in a faraway land. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this. I've heard something about this. But apparently these gift boxes, and they go in their thousands, they end up on vehicles leaving depots. They're going for a destination which is usually somewhere in the east, and quite often, as in this case, it'll go to a Muslim country like Albania.
Yeah, or sometimes to an African country. I mean, the terrible thing about this is they are completely hiding what they're actually doing from the public. They go into schools, sell it to the parents that it's a lovely thing you're doing, giving gifts to kids in poorer countries, and parents go, oh, that's a nice thing to do, kids love doing it. But no, what they're actually trying to do is indoctrinate children, because when the shoeboxes leave the school, then they put a load of extreme religious material in these boxes
to convert the poor Muslims,
to try to convert people. So it's the indoctrination in its most pernicious form, I guess.
The article goes on to say, many good-hearted packers of shoeboxers know little of the organization behind this scheme. It's run by Samaritan's Purse, fundamentalist American evangelical Christian missionaries. After the boxes are dispatched, they are then delivered along with a missionary book of Bible stories. 157 million children in over 160 countries have experienced God's love through the power of a simple shoebox gift from Operation Christmas Child, the website says. A story from its website tells how a shoebox converted a Muslim family to Christianity. Angela received an Operation Christmas Child shoebox filled with presents last year at this time. Since then, she's led her Muslim family to Christ. Now, the man who runs the Samaritan's Purse, which has a £16 million income, is the strongly anti-gay and anti-same-sex marriage Reverend Franklin Graham. Now, that's son of Evangelist Billy Graham, who's now passed on. Graham defended Russian President Vladimir Putin's gay propaganda law, praising him for protecting children from any homosexual agenda or propaganda. On Facebook, he wrote, "We are under attack by Muslims at home and abroad. We should stop all immigration of Muslims to the U.S. until this threat with Islam has been settled." But, there's your agenda.
So there you go. So while you're at it, spread some hate speech.
Yeah.
Lovely.
But it looks like our friends at Humanist UK have drafted up a template letter which was urging schools and others to reconsider their support.
Yes, which is good. They do a great deal of work on this, Humanist UK, and it's good they're there, because these stories would go completely unnoticed, I reckon. They don't really make the press until the Humanist UK start talking about it. So good on them.
There's other things you can do for people in need without bashing them over the head with your particular brand of religion.
Indeed.
And as the article finishes off, it says, sending stacks of boxes with Christian missionary messages to Muslim countries is unlikely to ease interfaith tensions. I have to agree there. So, yeah, watch out for that. This isn't the only one of these special gift boxes that go out to other countries. And just always, if you are aware of them, just try to see what's in them and what's sort of wrapped, what sort of message is wrapped up inside. Okay, we are going to go on to an article now from thinkprogress.org. Conversion therapy harms kids' mental health, new study finds. A new study published in the Journal of Homosexuality adds further evidence that conversion therapy negatively impacts the mental health of LGBTQ adolescents who are subjected to it. The study recruited a group of young adults between the ages of 21 and 25 and asked them to share their experiences as an adolescent, including whether their parents tried to change their sexual orientation and whether those efforts involved some form of therapy or counseling. Those individuals then answered a variety of questions about their mental health and their outcomes later in life. Across the board, teens who were subjected to sexual orientation change efforts by their parents had worse outcomes, particularly for those who were sent to an external therapist or religious leader. This included higher rates of depression, suicidal thinking and suicide attempts, and substance abuse problems, as well as lower self-esteem and overall satisfaction with life. Exposure to conversion therapy also correlated with lower education attainment and lower socioeconomic status. Well, we're not too surprised at this, because we've heard about this before, and the results are never good. Trying to change somebody from who they are and just to tell them this is just an affectation and we can erase it.
Yeah, it's a form of abuse, nothing more, nothing less in my eyes. I mean, these poor people being put through this when actually they tend to be young and going through a difficult time in their life, and maybe if they have got depression, that there'll be some actual very good courses out there that could help them with their depression, or if they're lonely or whatever. There's loads of good things you can do for people, but
like perhaps helping them to accept themselves, like go out and enjoy their sexuality, and explore it.
Exactly.
But no, don't you think in most of these cases it's the parents who are like, "Oh, I don't want my kid to be gay."
Yeah, well, they generally comes from the parents having an icky feeling about being gay and don't like the idea. So
what were the neighbours think? What will the church group think?
Yeah, well, do you know what? Fuck what the neighbours think and fuck what the fucking churches think. Leave these bloody kids alone. You're actually harming them. You are actually physically harming them by doing this. So
physically and mentally.
This stuff needs to be. I mean, some countries are banning this now, which is great news. But this should be banned across the world. This is just so horrible.
Yeah, most of America has banned it. 14 states and I think Washington, D.C. have banned it, but that's only for minors. The article goes on to say, in 2009, the American Psychological Association issued a report concluding that based on all available research, conversion therapy is ineffective at actually changing sexual orientation, and that there were indications it could be harmful. A support group for people who had endured conversion therapy, otherwise known as ex-gay survivors, conducted an informal study of over 400 survivors in 2013 and found widespread experiences of shame, depression, and self-hate. In that group, 41% reported suicidal thinking directly related to their experiences in therapy. So that's really sad. And we do know somebody, David Wernsman, who was the subject of the documentary Kidnapped for Christ, and he was sent to it wasn't a conversion therapy camp, but he was sent to this religious reform school because he was gay, and they thought somehow they would beat it out of him.
Yeah. So this is interesting. It's saying, although these bans are in place, they only address licensed therapists and do very little to protect young people from religious leaders who might try to change their sexual orientation. So therefore, there's a massive undocumented problem, and actually there should be laws brought in to stop religious leaders.
And what are they going to say anyway? This is sin. You need to pray more. You're broken. God's not going to accept you because you came out of the womb this way, or
burn forever,
or you've decided to be this way, which is wrong.
Yeah, it needs to end. It needs to end. We're moving in the right direction, but it needs to speed up because there's people suffering right now because of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if people are born gay, it must be God's plan, in the same way that Brexit is God's plan.
I know.
Sorry, I had to bring this up because
I know people don't like me talking about politics on here, but I really got a chance to know. This is fantastic. Brexit is God's plan to crush secularism and boost biblical standards.
Now, who said that? Well, let's find out. Do you want to read this?
Okay, I'll try. Because I'm laughing, sorry. In the midst of the ongoing chaos surrounding Brexit, a Christian named David Hathaway, founder and president of Eurovision Mission to Europe, insists that Britain's planned exit from the European Union will free the country from the EU's ungodly yoke. Evangelist is reported here as saying, I believe that prophetically this is God's way forward for us as a nation to take lead in returning to biblical standards in Europe, free from secularism of the French Revolution and Napoleonic law.
Damn that French Revolution. It's just got its tentacles into all of us, even today, hasn't it? And the Napoleonic law.
Why did God have to wait since Napoleon's time to come back on secularism? Oh dear, it amazes me what these evangelicals will do to get their message out there. They will back Brexit, they will back Trump, they will back
It's amazing how these big plans of God always seem to happen in their lifetime.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's funny. I mean,
agree with their politics.
It's had 200 odd years since the since the Enlightenment to step it back. But no, it's Brexit.
What does Hathaway blame the EU for then?
So, making it almost impossible to teach our children the truth of the Word of God regarding marriage between one man and one woman, and teach the acceptability of sex change to very young children. Under the guise of human rights legislation, the EU has sought to prevent us from openly testifying of our faith in Jesus Christ, the only way of salvation. So basically it comes down to bigotry. Yeah. He's afraid of gays. This is nothing to do with the EU. The UK has its own laws on this. This is nothing to do with the EU. Okay, we'll get a little political just for a second. As most of the problems in the country are nothing to do with the EU. Okay, I'll stop now. But yeah, so basically, he wants to say that being gay is bad.
It always comes down to the gay thing, doesn't it?
And somehow the EU, the big bad EU, is stopping him from saying gay is bad. Well, you've just done it. You've said it. You said it in this article. You're in the EU. No one stopped you saying it.
Can I read this last bit?
Go for it. I haven't read this bit.
We must return to our Judeo-Christian heritage and resist the encroachment of secularism and false religion. One could ask whether the sudden resignation of our Prime Minister, and I think they're talking about Cameron here, who supported ungodly laws, such as the legalization of same-sex marriage upon our nation, was indeed God's judgment and a challenge to restore true biblical values, not only in politics, but also the church.
Why the church so obsessed with what's in our freaking pants and what we do with it?
I'm sure it has nothing to do with Mr. Hathaway having homosexual thoughts, which he can't seem to suppress.
Yeah, it's probably nothing to do with that.
No.
I think we'll leave that
We'll put that aside, because that can't be part of this at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. And wow, this has been quite a show today. But I think, have you just found something interesting there?
I found something very interesting.
You're looking at your
Zayn
laptop
Malik,
there.
yes. My phone's been buzzing away at me, and not a One Direction fan myself, but Zayn Malik from One Direction has come out and said he is an ex-Muslim.
Really?
Which is great news, and apparently Faith to Faithless had some say in the helping him be brave enough to come out.
Faith to Faithless. Yes, that's a group that I know quite well. They help people who have left faith, and especially Muslims who have become ex-Muslims. So perhaps he'll be speaking at one of their meetings.
Well, it would be nice, but I just wanted to say well done on being brave enough to come out.
Yes, and just to do it publicly. Of course, he's going to get a barrage of hate from various.
He will, but
now.
it's a great thing, because lots of young people will now see that his example shows, okay, I can actually say I don't believe in this.
Wow, this is huge. We're going to have to do something on this next week, I think,
yeah,
don't you
definitely.
think?
And if you are struggling with your faith and struggling to how to tell people that you actually don't believe anymore, do Google Faith to Faithless organisation. They have people there you can talk to.
And if you want to talk at length and you want to do it on YouTube, come on to Talk Beliefs. I'll give you a platform. You can come into the studio, or we can do a Google Hangouts, and you can tell your story. And I think that wraps it up for today, Neal. Are we going to go out into the freezing cold and get something to eat, or are we going to stay in the warm?
No. Breakfast is calling.
Breakfast is calling. Okay, then I will see you next week.